Hi everyone, it's Bethany, and in this video I am finally doing the glow-in-the-dark adhesive vinyl that came in my mystery box. So if you watched my mystery box unboxing a couple weeks ago, I got a sheet of this adhesive glow-in-the-dark vinyl, and I'm really excited because I think it's going to pose for a really fun material to use for Halloween. So I'm really looking forward to using this for the first time. I did do a little test cut on it before filming because I wanted to make sure that I knew the proper settings in my machine that would do a successful cut. So if you need help knowing how to do a test cut, I will place a video for you so that you know how to do a test cut without wasting a bunch of material or without trying out a test cut when you're trying to do an entire design. So this is the glow-in-the-dark adhesive vinyl. It's really exciting. I'm really excited because I've taken this into a really dark room, just this sheet, and it glows really, really neat. And it's got a really powerful glow to it. So I'm excited to show you the design I'm going to do. I'm going to put it on this little chalkboard, and I'm hoping to put this chalkboard sign near my little trick-or-treat bowl, which we're going to be decorating very soon, and I think it will look really, really neat. So what I'm going to do is I am going to place this on a standard grip mat when I feed it through my machine. I'm going to be using my Explore Air 2. I also have some transfer tape here, and quite honestly, I'm going to be honest, this is my very first time working with this glow-in-the-dark adhesive vinyl, so I'm not really sure which transfer tape is going to work best, but I grabbed this to start, and we can always kind of switch it out and play with it as we go. We're going to learn together on this one for sure. And then I have some scissors, a weeding tool, and a little brayer tool just to help me lay down my vinyl. I'm also going to post a little link to a video that Expressions Vinyl has done when they introduced this product. It's a really informative video. I think it's about 4 minutes long, but it's really helpful. It tells you pretty much everything you need to know, and it gives you a lot of tips and tricks too. So I'll try to share some of those throughout the video here, but I'll also link that video because I found it really, really helpful. All right, let's go ahead and measure our little chalkboard so we know how to size our design that's going to go on the top of this. So our chalkboard is measuring in, and I'm just measuring the inner part at 5.5 by 9. And if you see a little design shadow on here, it's because I've used this before for another project, and I was done kind of using the design. It served its time in my home, and so I thought this would be a fun little chalkboard for this next project, so I removed the vinyl, but you can still kind of see a little bit of the remainder. But I always like to be thrifty and crafty with my materials, so we are reusing today. Okay, let's hop into Design Space. We are going to make a little design. I'm going to show you how I'm going to make it. It's really, really cute, and we'll get everything cut out on the glow in the dark, placed on the chalkboard, and we'll see how it glows.
Okay, so here we are in Cricut Design Space, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I am going to recreate my little chalkboard sign. So I'm going to unlock it because it is a rectangle and not a perfect square, and I am going to go over to the width, and it's going to be 5.5, and the height will be 9 inches. So that is my chalkboard sign little template that we're going to use. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to Images, and I am going to search Label. And this is going to help me just find a border that I would like to use for around my design. So I'm just going to scroll through here. It will make sense on why I'm doing this in just a minute, but let me find the little label that I'd like. Okay, so I'm going to use this one right here. So I'm just going to click on it. It's going to add it to my queue down here so I can keep selecting other images for my design. I'm also going to come in and type bat in the search engine, and then I'm going to scroll through and find the bat that I would like to use. Okay, and I think I'm going to use this one right here. So I again clicked on it, it added to my little queue down here, and then those are the only elements in images that I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and say Insert Images, and they're going to bring them right into my canvas here. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to resize this. This is kind of going to be like my little border that surrounds my little design. So I'm just going to bring this onto my sign here and size it where I would like it. So I'm thinking something like this probably. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this off because this is the size that I want it to be. And I am going to select, if you'll notice, this particular file has two layers in this right here. So you have the label and then it has two different cut file layers. So I'm going to select both of them and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say slice because I really just want to have a border. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the slice results and I'm going to be left with this border. So I'm going to also make this a white color because it's going to be that glow in the dark color on my sign. And then I'm going to start working with some text. So the first text that I'm going to use is called Feather. So I'm going to come up here and search for Feather. I believe this is from Font Bundles, and I will link a link to it in the description box below. And with the Feather font, I'm going to write happy. So let's see, happy, there we go. Okay, and I'm going to bring it over here, bring that over, and I am going to make this a little bit bigger, and I am going to ungroup it and then go ahead and attach all of my little letters together. And I'm doing this way just because I like to have a little bit more control with it, but you can also go up to letter space and just decrease the letter space to bring those all together. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and select all of them and come down here and weld. It's important when you're using this cursive font to do welding and not attaching, and I'll also place a link to a tutorial on attach versus weld if you need some help learning a little bit more about those functions and the differences. Okay, so happy is going to go right here. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to grab a different font. So I'm going to go back to text. And my second font is going to be called Chip Decor, C-H-I-P Decor. Let me see if I can find it. There it is, right here. Okay, so I'm going to grab this top one. And I'm going to say Halloween, but I'm going to divide it up between two different lines. So I'm going to do H-A-L-L-O. Perfect. Bring it over here, and I'm going to add another text box for W-E-E-N. Okay, and this is just kind of a fun idea I thought I would do for this, but you can obviously make your design any way you would like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this second line over just so that they are lined up together. Visually, I think that's just going to look really, really nice, and I think that the letters can actually withstand a little bit of stretching and still maintain a good look. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and lock that again. I am going to go ahead and grab these two, come over to align and say center horizontally. Perfect. And then I'm just going to go ahead and attach these together real quick. Okay, so now I'm just going to kind of size this down. Let's make this white so we can really see. And I'm going to play around with placement a little bit, so it's okay if it's not quite perfect right away. So I'm just going to kind of play with my placement. It's going to look a little bit like this. Okay. So I'm liking how that's looking, and I can kind of center that up a little bit like this. Okay. So I actually think that looks pretty good. I'm going to center that within there a little bit more. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my little bat in. Again, let's make him white. All of this is going to be cut out of the glow-in-the-dark adhesive vinyl, but I'm going to bring my little bat in. I'm going to size him down, and I'm just going to put him right here. Okay, and I think I'll do just, whoops, grabbed the wrong layer. Okay, so I just click the back button, and I'm going to click on my bat. And sometimes if you can't get the exact layer to click, I just go over to my layers panel and click the layer I would like. Goodness, there we go. Okay. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all of my layers except for the template, and I am going to attach them all together. That way they cut exactly like this, that everything is going to be placed in this exact order. And I'm going to see if I want to make this a little bit longer. Okay, so I think that looks a little bit better, just like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hide my back template, and I'm going to hide that with just clicking on this eye, and then I'm going to cut this out. So what I'm going to do is I have my Explore all cut. I'm going to go and click Make It, and then it's going to place it right on my mat. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click continue, and we're going to real quick go over to the Expressions Vinyl website to check on what cut setting we need to use. Okay, so I'm just on the Expressions Vinyl website, and what I'm going to do is go over to Machine Settings, and I'm on their website because I got this product from them. It came in their mystery box, and I'm going to come over to Cricut Cut Settings Chart, and I'm going to go ahead and click that to open it up. This is the heat transfer, so we don't want that because we are working with adhesive, so we're going to go down to Adhesive Vinyl, and we are going to scroll down to Glow in the Dark, and it recommends that the setting that we use is Poster Board. So now we'll go back to Cricut Design Space and get everything selected so we can start cutting. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to browse all materials, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to search for poster board. So what I did is I tried to search through poster board in here before, and I couldn't find just poster board. There was either metallic poster board or there was foil poster board. So what I did was, with my test cut that I have already done, is I selected foil poster board. I'll go ahead and select that as my favorite. I did foil poster board for mine, and it worked really, really well. So I'm going to go ahead and do that again, and I'm going to select done. Sometimes you just have to select the setting that is the closest, and this in my opinion was, and it worked really well. Okay, so I'm going to select done. We are going to be using the fine point blade. We're going to load our material and get this cutting.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just place my glow-in-the-dark adhesive vinyl right on my mat, and I'm using the standard grip green mat just because it's a little bit stronger, and this is a pretty thick material, so I just wanted to make sure that I had enough of a grip to work with it. Okay, and then I'm going to take my brayer tool and just really rub that down to make sure it's even and make sure it gets really, really pressed onto the mat. And that looks about good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my machine and I'm going to load this in. Okay, so I'm going to click the button, and then when the Cricut button flashes, we can select that and it will get to cutting. Okay, so while that is cutting, I forgot to select our little question of the day. So I'll select one, and let's see what it says. You guys can answer in the comments. So today's question is pie or cake? Okay, this is actually an actual question at our house because we actually have an opinion on this. So do you like pie or do you like cake more? I'll say in our house, we love pie more because my husband just absolutely loves it. But my little 4-year-old and I made a pie over the weekend, and it was so, so good, apple pie. And it was just a perfect kickoff to fall. So this is cutting really, really well. I'm going to let this cut out for a second, and then what I did is I actually put some rubbing alcohol over this. So I just wetted a little cotton swab with rubbing alcohol and wiped down my sign to make sure there was no oils or dust, and that will get it all ready for the adhesive vinyl. Okay, also I wanted to mention that this will cut out the design and then it recuts out the design. So it will cut out the design twice on this setting. This is a pretty thick material, and I know in their video as well that the reason they wanted a poster board setting was because it does a double cut to make sure that it gets all the way through. Okay, so it is all done. I'm going to go ahead and unload my mat. And then I'm going to turn my mat over and then carefully peel the mat away from the vinyl. Okay, it looks like the green mat did a really good job with that. I'm also going to put this straight through my little paper trimmer here just to save some material. And being careful not to cut through my design. Okay, so I have a lot of extra, so I'm really excited I can use this for some other projects as well if I'd like. And now we are going to start weeding this out. So let's get our weeding tool and get started. Okay, so I know that they said this can be a little bit tricky to weed, so we will see if that holds true. But they did mention to kind of like roll it a little bit, so I wonder if it's kind of like the technique of infusible ink, if you guys have worked with that before as well. Just kind of roll it to kind of get it started. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of roll it, and then I'm going to get to weeding. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this outer part first. They also mentioned not to work with this if it's really, really cold because it can be a little bit more difficult to weed. And so mine is just room temperature. So far it seems to be working really well. And they also mentioned that you want to pick a design that is a little bit more substantial and chunky. So you're not going to want to choose something that has really fine text or really, really teeny tiny designs with it. Some of the designs should just be a lot bigger because it will make the weeding process a little bit easier. To be honest, this is weeding like a dream. So I'm having zero problems getting this weeded out. So what I'm going to do is, because I haven't even used my weeding tool yet at all, actually. I'm going to probably need it for the middles of these letters, but this is weeding out super simple. And really that would be kind of cute too. If you wanted to use this as well, that would be actually really neat too, because that would be a lot of glow. So I might set that to the side. That could be really, really fun. And then you would just keep all of these little middle pieces to the letters. You would try to keep those intact, and you could put them right back on this little piece as well. So that would be really fun. Okay, so I'll set these little pieces to the side just in case I want to use them elsewhere. Okay, so now I'm just going through and I'm weeding out the middles of my letters, and again, it's weeding out really well. In fact, it's also, I'm finding the rolling technique to almost be easier. So it's almost weeding like infusible ink is, and I'm finding it a little bit easier to do so than with the weeding tool because it is very, very thick material. So it's a little bit easier just to kind of bend and peel and take those little pieces out. Okay, I think I have one more little piece. So that would be my addition to the little advice, is kind of just bend it like infusible ink. Okay, so now we have our design completely weeded out. It's hard to see because it's on a white background, but let's go ahead. I'm going to see, again, this is my first time using this product, so I'm going to see if I can just use this clear grid line transfer tape to get this all transferred over so that I can put it on my chalkboard sign. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some scissors. Okay, and I'm just going to place my design right on top of here and trim down the transfer tape. Okay. So the foil poster board setting worked like a dream, and it worked super, super well. So I definitely recommend that. Okay, so now I'm going to just grab my little weeding tool, and I just like to pick up a little corner with my weeding tool here. Grab my transfer tape, and I did grab a brand new sheet just like you saw. Usually I like to reuse transfer tape, but I grabbed a brand new one for this just because it's pretty thick. And I'm just going to place that right on there. And let me grab my little scraper tool and scrape that down. Okay, so I have my little squeegee scraper tool here. I'm just going to scrape it all the way down. Okay, I'm going to turn it over. Scrape the other side just to make sure it gets all the way down. Okay, and we'll see how this transfers off. Okay. I'm being 100% honest, I did not know how this was going to work, and it worked so well. Okay, so that worked perfectly. So let's go ahead and grab our little chalkboard here. Okay. And I'm going to, again, I cleaned this with rubbing alcohol just to make sure it's all ready to go and all clean. And now I'm just going to lay this right on top. So I think I'm going to need to trim down my sides just a little bit, just so that it can lay within the chalkboard. That might just help me a little bit. So I'll trim that side down. I went back and forth quite a few times ever since I opened my mystery box with what designs to use. Other ideas I had were doing a little skeleton on here. I think that would be really cute. But I just, honestly, I couldn't find one that I really loved. So that was my first idea, was a skeleton, but I just couldn't quite, ooh, that worked out great. I couldn't quite find one I really, really liked. So I'm just gonna go ahead with my fingers first, just kind of go from the center out and just focus on that little design part, rubbing that down, and then I'll grab my little squeegee scraper tool and really press that down. Okay. Okay, that looks really good. Okay, and then I'm just going to grab a little piece of that transfer tape, and I am going to peel at an angle, just like that. Oh my goodness, that, you know what, you guys, that process was just about as easy as vinyl. Minus the weeding part, where vinyl you would use a weeding tool. This I did kind of the infusible ink method, where you just kind of bend and peel with your fingers, and that worked really, really well. So quite honestly, I was super intimidated to try this, and I think thinking about it was a lot more intimidating than actually doing it. It worked really, really well, so I encourage you to try this. Okay, so I'm going to show you the after. I'm going to take it into a really dark room and show you a picture. Be sure to give me a thumbs up if you think this turned out really, really cute. I think it's going to look really sweet by our little trick-or-treating candy bowl, and I hope everyone has a happy Halloween. Be sure you're subscribed. We're going to start the gift guide really soon on November 1st. 15 days in a row of Cricut gifts you can make with your Cricut machine for friends and family. All right, everyone, let's check this out in the dark.